About 10 hours ago, we had an early screening of the new episode of the amazing digital circus in Japan, and we saw the atmosphere around it. And since I'm sure that Glitch will be banned for revealing spoilers, I decided to ask those who have already seen the episode to give me some details. And that's what we're gonna see now. Huge amount of leaks, old teasers, and many other things completely reveal us the plot of the second episode. And in this video, I will tell you what to expect on May 3rd. Hello everyone, and we know exactly who will be the main character of the second episode. Who will be the villains, the main location, the main plot twists, and also a huge amount of secrets. And for starters, we have to go back to February and remember this leak from Glitch, which shows Pomni sleeping, and accordingly, it became clear that since this leak of the second episode was the first one, this scene will open the new episode. And if you remember the scene where Pomni starts to turn into abstracted monster, then I am 100% sure that this scene is just a dream that Pomni saw after all the horror she experienced during the whole pilot episode. And I think that meeting with abstracted Kaufmo and the time period when she was on the verge of turning into that monster was the most memorable and powerful part of her memory. And then in the preview for the first season of the amazing digital circus, Kane suddenly bursts in. And that's where the fun begins. Everything that was shown in the preview has no value for us. Unlike the scene with Pomni and one of her cubes where they safely crashed into each other and then Pomni started glitching. Perhaps Kane scared Pomni and most likely all the inhabitants of the digital circus tent so badly that Pomni fell and we saw this. And the logical continuation will be the meeting of all the inhabitants of the digital circus together, as it was many times in the pilot episode, and this scene shows us that. And actually, a fragment of this scene was shown to us a long time ago, which also confirms my version. Then most likely our characters had breakfast and spent some time in peace, but after a couple of scenes we will see how Kane again gathered everyone and sent them to travel through Candy Canyon Kingdom. And in general, everything is clear, but we don't see Zooble, and apparently she decided to support her trend of the pilot episode and again abandoned Kane's adventure, which probably made Kane very angry. And if in the pilot episode we saw a pretty light punishment, now I'm afraid to imagine what Kane will do to Zooble, considering that during the rest of the trailer we don't see this character anymore. And let's remember this leak where Zooble says something to Jax. Maybe she was asking him to talk to everyone else to get them to give up the candy adventure. Once our residents got to Candy Canyon Kingdom, things initially went well, and some of them even experienced satisfaction, such as Gangle. And surprisingly, this is the first time in a long time that we see Gangle so happy, but not for long. In Candy Canyon Kingdom, we meet Princess Lulilalu, who will most likely tell us that somewhere in the territory of the kingdom, there is a very cunning alligator called Gummigoo, and he has his own gang. But to be honest, these two don't look like reliable partners. Their names are Max and Chad, but we don't really care about that. So Princess Lulilalu gives us a very important task that is not as easy to handle as it may seem at first glance. We need to find Gummigoo and his boys to take something away from them, and I think the main mission is to save the binoculars. I agree with you that it sounds weird, but it's the amazing digital circus. In the previous episode, a giant worm ate Zooble, so it's no surprise. But then there's the obvious question, why couldn't Princess Lulilalu just meet the guests and show them around? The answer is hidden in this moment, which if you zoom in reveals a very interesting detail. We see a mural on which some character is depicted, and most likely it is Kane, because after all, he is the main administrator of this amazing digital game. And I think that's when we find out that Candy Canyon Kingdom is not an independent location. And yet we remember how Kane once revealed the secret of the Void and said that it was just one of his unfinished projects, and that if Candy Canyon and everyone who lives in it is just the final project that was originally the Void. That's funny. And then our characters led by Jax went in search of alligators and most likely found their shelter. And then we realized that Gummigoo is not just a negative character, but the main villain of the new episode. And after our circus people, and most likely Jax, did not think of anything better than to steal a second truck to make Gummigoo go after them, they did steal it. And since we know that Jax is an excellent marksman, he decided to give the control of the truck to the most depressed character. And then Jax felt in charge again, and this time Pomni was in his sights and apparently was determined to jump on Gummigoo's truck and somehow steal the binoculars. But we've all seen how that turned out. And then Jax decided to take control of the truck and decided that ramming the other truck was a great idea, and I suspect it was after that that the circus truck went astray, but the Gummigoo truck was also damaged and spun around a lot. And from this scene, we understand that Gummigoo ordered Max to climb on the roof and push Pomni off, but after the collision, Max himself fell while Pomni managed to hold on. Jax went back for Max, and they went to a place very far away from Candy Castle where they took Max prisoner. And the funny thing is that in this location, instead of the ground, we see a small layer of some liquid. And while the rest of the circus residents decided to look around and figure out where to go next, Jax stayed behind to watch Max. And you'd think he wouldn't trust anyone else to do the job, so he decided to stay behind. But I think the others, most likely Ragatha, just forced him to stay. And since in the next scene from this location we don't see Max, but we do see the binoculars, I have a theory that Gummigoo was able to find the kidnappers of his partner and exchanged him for the binoculars. But the question about Pomni remains open because after that we never saw her again. Most likely Gummigoo just got tired of it and decided to throw it away somewhere in this so-called lake. But what is very strange is the moment where Jax and Max are calmly standing on the water, but then we see Pomni flying out of the water with great speed, and we realize that after that, the main events will take place on the lake. Although maybe it's the sea, but it doesn't matter. After all the characters saw the amazing flight of Pomni, Jax again decided that he is in charge, and without asking anyone just took control of the already floating truck and went towards Pomni. And in the previous video, I already told you that no one paid attention to this rock that hides a lot of interesting things, and most importantly, we realize that that's where our characters are stuck. And if you think that this so-called accident that made Jax very happy and Ragatha very angry happened because of the natural terrain, think more carefully about why Pomni could have been so much out of the water and who could have helped her. And also, maybe Ragatha is not angry, but on the contrary, very frightened and so expresses her emotions. It is quite possible, and the next frame confirms it, and we see how Fudge Monster took control of the truck with passengers and wants to eat it very much. But apparently our friends managed to get out and escape from this monster, and after that our circus people went in search of Pomni, which judging by the trajectory of movement fell near the place of takeoff. And then a miracle happened, and apparently Pomni was found, which can be seen in the following scenes where the whole cast of familiar characters met Princess Lulalalu, who greeted them very kindly after their return. And I think all those friendly dummies were very happy to see them back. After that, we saw Princess Lulalalu hand Ragatha some strange key that has already become one of the main secrets of the new episode. Some think it's the key to the truck, but even if you think about it a bit, the truck was in the first half of the episode, and this scene is clearly the end of the episode. Some have suggested that the key is just a symbolism and has no value and is just a souvenir from the princess to thank her for her work. But again, that's too easy for Gooseworks. And so I'm more inclined to believe that this key will play a role in the episode, and we will see Ragatha open one of the doors inside Candy Castle with this key and see a huge table with sweets in front of him. And after their dinner, they are joined by Kane, who gives them the good news that they are returning to the digital circus. Bye-bye, everybody.